Hey guys, welcome back to Garage Force Restos. In this episode, we're going to get busy with the passenger side fender. We've got a lot of work to do. Let me get you in here and show you what's going on. Okay, this is the first area of repair. You'll see that it's very similar to the rust that we had on the driver's side fender. However, it's gone further on the top here. On the driver's side, we just had to do a repair in this area here. This one's going to be a little trickier. We've got a bend here. We've got a bend this way. This piece is going to be a little tricky. We'll have to see if this needs to be replaced as well. It looks like it might be savable, but we'll have to get that ground down and see what we're looking at there. That's the first problem area. Next problem area, similar to the driver's side fender as well, although again on this side, it's not as bad. We won't need to get into repairing this. I'll show you the back side. It's still in quite good shape. It's just this section here. So I'm going to call ourselves lucky on this area. Unlike the driver's side though, we've got a repair that we've got to do here. This bracket is, you can see, pretty rusted there. So we've got to cut this out and put a new piece in here and make sure that it's positioned just like that one is. This is where the inner splash shield secures, so got to make sure that all lines up properly. Then we also have to fill in the aerial. Well, that's a pretty straightforward repair there. This car's not going to have an aerial. I don't do aerials on muscle cars. They got to go. And then, let's see, I'll flip it over to the other side. Well, you'll notice here that, again, on the driver's side, we had to put a patch in here. And here I was picking away at it just to see what we're in for. And really, all we need to do, you might not be able to see right here, but there's a weak spot right here. Again, created by where the inner splash shield here runs down the length of this. It collects moisture and dirt right here. Again, not as bad as the other side, but what we're going to do is just drill a hole through this because there's one weak spot right there that we'll just drill out, and then we'll just tack it in without any new pieces. We'll just tack and grind, and I think that'll be all that spot needs. On the other side, you can see that needs a bunch of work. I know it's not focusing there. Let me get that in there. But a similar repair to the other side. It's just that we're going to have to go further up. So we're probably going to come up to like about this area here on the fender, whereas on the driver's side, we were just down to about here. So we'll come up further. We're going to need more of the inner brace repaired than the driver's side. But again, a fairly straightforward repair, very similar to the last video. On the inside brace, this piece here that mounts to the A-pillar on the bottom of the cowl area is also good. So it's similar in that we'll keep that piece in place, but we will end up doing a replacement patch from probably something like here all the way down around through here. I don't know if we're going to need to go, I don't know how far we're going to have to go on this lip, but like we did on the other side, we can replace this whole area if we need to. We're going to start by doing the outer skin to make sure that it matches up to this brace perfectly, because that's our guide. And then once that's done, we'll come in here and we'll cut out as much as we need to make sure we got clean metal, and we'll build that piece. Again, from the last episode, you know how we're going to get after that. And then the last piece on this fender, we have some dent repair. You saw that on one of the earlier episodes when I did a walk around in the car. This is a pretty nasty dent. So what we're going to do is weld a few pins in here. We'll use the slide hammer with maybe a bit of heat, and we'll try to bring this back around. A little bit of body hammer work. It's difficult, in fact, without cutting a hole in here, this area here, there's no way to get in from this side to push and to hammer and to do any dollying. So we're going to start with pulling this out with the slide hammer, see how close we can get it. And if we need to, then we're going to get in here, cut a square so that I can get some kind of rod or punch in here to do some body hammer work on this dent from the inside. As long as I can get it close, I don't mind a little bit of filler on this area, but we want to get this as good as we can from a metal perspective. I'm certainly not going to cut it out. I don't think that's warranted. I think we just need to pull it out, get it close as we can, and then we'll finish off with filler. Otherwise, this fender is in great shape. We'll have to keep an eye. In fact, I just noticed right now, you see that spot right here. It's rusted through. So we do need to do some repair on this. How much? Not sure. I might get the sandblaster out and clean that up so we know exactly what we're looking at. We might need to do more work than I had planned. This is still good here, but maybe we need a piece that runs the length of here. Yeah, that could be. All right, we'll get at that in due course. The area where we're going to start on this fender is this dog leg. Let's get after that. I'm going to get you set up and we'll get going. Okay, so same as the other side, we're going to get a piece of fresh 18 gauge. It'll come up to roughly here, and we'll get it long enough that it can go well past this lip. So we'll cut to fit later, well past this edge so we have enough to bend over, and somewhere in this proximity here. So before we get that cut out, I want to make sure I have this in a place where I can lay that piece, that new piece, flat against here and make sure that I've got the perfect bend and contour. So to do that, because we've got some rust that's really causing this to stick out, I want to get this ground down, cleaned up, so we've got a nice flat surface here. The other thing we're going to do, is similar to the other side, is we're going to get the Bristol board out and we're going to take a template of this so that we know exactly the shape of this edge. Importantly, this edge less worried about because it's not going to change, but this lip will be new, and I want to make sure that we've got a template to make that exactly fit. So when it goes back on the car, it matches the door. So first up, grinding, then Bristol board. All right, I was able actually to use the same template as the other side. It was large enough, and of course, because the fenders are symmetrical, everything lined up. So I just marked a new line in the fender. I know where that's going to mate up. And then, of course, I've got something I can use as a guide for the piece that I need. You can see that I've made this larger than the actual template, and the template itself is already larger than I need. So this is going to give me plenty to work with. I can move it around, do what I need to do. First thing, let's get this cut out, and then we're going to start by putting that bend in it to match the contour of the fender. Okay, there's our piece. We'll go put it near the fender, and we'll start to put a bend on this way to match the contour. Okay, so you can see how this fender has that contour. I'm going to go ahead and assume that for now, this line, I'll know better when I cut it, but I'm going to assume that line right now is clean metal. I know it is here. This area is a little questionable, but I've got that line, and you can see then when I roll this on the fender, it needs the bend to match that contour. And so I think what I'm going to try and do is just get that bend on using my my leg. Okay, I'm going to put this in the vise just to get a little more on it. Okay, before I got a little bend happy on that, I just wanted to come back over here and make sure I was comfortable with how high that was going to sit, if I could use this line for the template or if I had to go higher. So I cut this piece out here just so I could get a better eye on the support brace underneath, but also the metal underneath of here. Get an idea how strong this is here. And this is a piece that came out like that right here. Try to get that zoomed in right. That came in like that. And so on the back side of that, you can see bottom, which would have been down here, really rough. And then it gets a little scaly up here, but the metal is still quite strong up here. So it has some surface rust, light scale up here, but I don't think we need to go farther. I think I can get a good clean weld on this. I suspect that as I put my finger up in here, that sort of surface rust, goes quite far up here. So I think we'll be okay with that. This does give us the access that we need to this brace as well if we go up that high. So happy with that. Okay, so now that I'm feeling comfortable with this is how high we're going to go in the fender, I'm going to use this line for the mark on here, how high to go, to tell me where I've got to put this bend. I am going to, in the meanwhile, do a new line for our Bristol board template and use a new piece because this is all going to be ground down and welded, and I'm going to lose my line to match up with my template later. So I'll do that off camera, and then I'm going to start to mark a line on here, and I'll meet you when I'm ready to bend that. Okay, we've got our piece. We've got a line drawn. I've just matched up with this top of the edge to that line I've got drawn across the fender. This is the line that matches the bend at the bottom. So we're just going to put that in there, and we want to get like probably a 70-degree or so bend on that. And we got a problem. So I can't get this piece down far enough in the vise to do a proper bend. So we're going to have to do some trim on the bottom here. Let me go find out if that's going to be okay, because we've got to make sure we've got enough lip down there. I've marked how much we're going to have to take off the bottom in order to get it down into the vise far enough. I'll be back. Okay, we're back. I've got about 3/4 of an inch trimmed off the bottom edge here. So now we've got lots of room. And I still have extra on here for the lip that I have to create for the bottom of that fender. So let's get this in here lined up and ready for a bend. Need the light. Show me the light. That looks good. Okay. All right, we want good bend in this. Okay, now we'll just use the body hammer to get a bit more on that. how close we are. I think it's close. Okay, here's our piece here. I did one test fit, and really the main thing I noticed was, first, I needed a sharper bend on it, and B, I needed a little less overall bend. So I think now it's quite close. It's not perfect yet. If I just get that on there, and then I'll bring you in, you can see now here that it's quite close. Actually, like pretty well perfect on both ends. So I am quite happy with that. Just I think that has to go up a little bit. Yeah, like that. But I think, as you can see there, it's very close. So I think now what we'll do is we're going to get a mark on where we have to trim the bottom edge of this new piece to match up with the skin of the old Fender. I think that's pretty easy to do. Just going to do that now. I think I've got this exactly where I want it on the Fender. So I'm just going to mark it underneath. And then a mark right here. Sorry if I'm in the way there. Then a mark there. We'll draw that across. And that is the bottom edge of our new Fender skin. Okay, I'm going to get that cut and we'll come back. Okay, we've got our piece. It's all cut off now. As you can see, we've got the right lip here. And let's just try. Yeah. I'll bring you around, you can see. Yeah, we've got the old Fender skin is right there. It's got the right line all the way across. Of course, we've got lots extra here. That's okay because we want that for making our lip later. So we're happy down here, and I'm happy with the bend and the contour we have on this. So now what we need to do is trim this piece here. I want to trim that back because I want to be able to see where I'm at. And once we do that, then I think we're going to be ready to start to tack this in and cut and butt once we take this piece out. Okay, so that's where that goes, right there. I just want roughly that much off. Just going to trim that and then we'll be ready to cut this out. Okay, I've got this edge cut the way I want it to do what I want down here. Now, because we're going to do a cut and butt, we need to get this off so that when we put this on here, this isn't going to be trapped underneath. So let's get that done. Okay, I've got this area wire wheeled, and then I brake cleaned it. You can see here, this is where I'm thinking that we're probably going to replace the bracket here. Not yet, of course, that'll be the last step, but that'll be the area that we replace. We may go a little further down here, but this is pretty solid. And of course, this is in great shape down here. And this is perfectly savable. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to lay on some rust fix into this area here so that it's treated before I put weld through primer on and then put on the new piece. I'm going to do that now. All right, I've got the rust fix on there in the areas that matter. Didn't bother with this, of course, but the areas that are going to keep, you can see it's already starting to turn black. It's doing its thing. I'm going to let that cook. It needs to cook for a while before we put the top coat on there, which will be the weld through primer. So while that's doing that, setting up, I thought we'd come over here and make a piece for the aerial hole and weld that up and make it go away. So I'm going to get a little piece of cardboard. We'll make a little paper template, get a piece cut out, and get to welding. Okay, just got a small piece of cardboard here. Let's get a template made up, and then we'll get a piece of 18 gauge cut and in here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get that trimmed and then cut out a piece of steel, and we'll come back. Okay, I've got a little piece cut up here. You'll see I got a line drawn on that. The reason why is because this has a little bit of contour to it. And so I wanted to put a bit of shape into that. And so just drew a line so I could keep it straight on the dolly over there. And just a little bit of body hammer work. Got that too. It's got where it's got a bit of contour. I can finish shaping that once it's all welded in, but I wanted to get a little bit to start off with. You can see that's how it'll go. Of course, I didn't worry about the two little edges here. That'll just fill in with weld. But I'll get a magnet and we'll get this set in here and we'll get a tack and rock and roll. Okay, I've got the piece in there with a magnet. I just want to get a tack on that. Make sure that we've got it flush. We'll do one side right here first. Just want to make sure that we've got that flush. There. There we go. She's all plugged up. Nice and smooth. It's welded on the backside too, so good and strong, and there's no pinholes. So we've got a good patch there, and it's ready for, of course, media blast, epoxy prime, and body work to get that perfectly smooth. But very happy with that. That job is done. Okay, next morning, the rust fix was all set up, so I've just gone through now and put on a nice coat of weld through primer on the areas that are going to stay and be sandwiched between here and the new piece. Two plug weld drill holes there to line up with here and here. So now we're ready to go ahead, put this piece on, and finish off with our cut and butt. And this whole section here will be gone. Let's get to it. Okay, I've also gone through and just ground off all the paint any of the rust that was on the area that we're going to do the cut and butt. So we're good on both sides, clean metal. Let's go ahead and get our first tack in here. Okay, like the way that that's fitting right now. Everything is flush. I'll bring it down here. You can see here I've got great fitment all along here, all through the arch, and importantly, the same here. A little more difficult to see, but this is all lined up nice as well. Of course, it's on top. It'll settle down once we do the cut and butt, and importantly, um, this sits nicely on the brace. What's great about this is that with that brace in there, and with the metal that I've left, and now with this on top, I've maintained the integrity and the structure of the shape, I'll say, of this dog leg. And so once I put, the next move is going to be a plug weld here and a plug weld to that brace. That will now bring this fender back into shape as it was. Then I can proceed with my tacks, and then I can go ahead and do the cut and butt. Let's get to it. Okay, that new piece is all tacked in there. You saw me struggle a little bit. I needed to make sure that this was good and flush that whole way to follow the natural curve of the fender that remains. So a little bit of hammer and dollying. Once this is all welded up and ground, there's a bit more hammer and dollying that I'll do all along this edge, and really the whole piece, but it's got a real nice flow to it. It's flush all around. It's all tacked in. So the next step, of course, is to take my time, tack over tack, moving around the panel slowly, cooling it off, and then eventually getting to a place where I can grind this down. That will take some time. I won't video that. Here's, you can see the piece that we cut out with the cut and butt. Happy to get rid of that old rusted, rotted metal. And there we go. So I'll see you when this is all welded and ground down. Okay, there it is. All welded up and ground down. I'm really happy with how this side came out. I think it's actually better than the other side I did. I guess practice makes perfect. Just really, really smooth here. Absolutely no stretching, deformation. It's just beautiful. Light skim of filler, and that is done. Let me show you the other side. Okay, backside's all welded up and ground down as well. Nice and flat. A little less concerned about the the look back here, but at least it's flat for the future. No pinholes anywhere, so it's all solid, so shouldn't have any issues with rust. Now it's time to tackle this section right here. We're going to come out like this, up, and probably out that far and over, across, and replace all of that. We've got the strength in the panel now with our plug welds up here and all of the bends and shape. I can cut this out, not worry about it getting out of whack here. So that's the next step, and then we'll finish off with cutting this to fit and doing our lip. But that'll be the last step. You can see I've traced the line here where the edge of this piece is going to go, and of course where this is going to wrap over. So rock and roll. I'm going to get you set up and we're going to start cutting this out. Okay, it's time to work on the back brace. I've got this marked out roughly where I want to cut. I think the rest is good metal. We'll know for sure once it gets cut out. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out. It's going to be a 2 pieces fix. We're going to start with this piece and then we'll bring in this piece. Let's get going. Okay, quite happy with this. I think I've got back to clean metal all the way around this brace. The only thing I'm going to do before I start to make pieces is, you can see back here, this is the back side of this new outer skin. I'm going to do some tacking in here, really weld this up so that it's solid, just to prevent any chance of rust getting into that seam where it's not fully penetrated. So I'm going to do that. Then we're going to hit this with weld through primer, and then we're going to start by making this piece here. All right, let's get to it. Okay, got a nice bead of weld on the back side there, and did a coat of weld through primer on the back side there, so we're good. Now let's get busy on making this piece from here over. Since we have this, we can use it as a template. So that's what we're going to do. I'll set you down and we'll get that marked up. Okay, yeah, so I think we can just use this as a template. Put that on there like this, mark it out. I think that's basically it. Let's cut that out. Maybe a little bigger than what it is on this edge, so we've got a little bit to play with. Okay, let's go try and see if this is going to fit over there. Okay, we've got our piece, and I believe it's going to fit like this. Yeah, it's good. It's a little bigger, sorry, a little longer this way, which is good. Got a little too much gap over there, so we'll have to be mindful of how we cut that edge there. But let's get this cut out in an 18 gauge piece of steel and rock and roll. Okay, I've got that piece cut out, 18 gauge. It's a little longer, but that's because it needs to be bent. But otherwise, very happy with that. So now we just need to get a slight bend. I don't think we need to do anything more complicated than bend it ourselves. I'm going to use the vise just for this bottom piece. Okay, so we've got a slight bend in there. Let's see how we do. So we're good here, but I need a little more bend down here. Just going to use the vise for that. I'll be right back. Yeah, I think that's it. Quite like how that's going to fit in there. It's just a little long on this edge, just a little. But it's got a nice contour there. Okay, so just need to take a little bit off here. Really can't do well, we could do a cut and butt. Just got to be mindful that I won't be able to reach in behind and get the piece. It'll just be a sliver. I think I'm just going to cut to fit, so I'm going to trim a little bit off that. I think that's it. Let's weld her in. All right, we are ready to rock. I've got this new piece covered with weld-through primer in the back. Let's get this thing tacked in here. I'm going to start with this edge down here. So what happened is I've got that tack on there and it's brought it in a little more than I would like. So I think I need to use the cutoff wheel and get that fixed up. All right. Still just want to make sure that, importantly, that is flat there. No, it's going up. I have to fix that. Okay, we need to slice that in order to get this where we like it, I think. Okay, so I cut that open. I put the screwdriver in and just twisted to bring this up a little higher. And now we're flush all the way around. It's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and weld this up. I'll turn the camera off for that because that can be a bit tedious. But I'll get that welded up and ground down, and then I'll bring you back, and we're going to get ready to make this piece here. Okay, we've got that all welded up and ground down. Very happy with how that's come out too. Once that's media blasted, epoxy primed, that's going to look like the original piece there. Okay, so now I want to take from this spot here to this spot up here and trim all that off, and then we'll get ready to make this last piece. Okay. Basically like that. Let's cut that off. Okay, so we're going to make a piece with a 90-degree bend in it. We'll have, let's say, a 1.5-inch flange. Yeah, 1.5-inch from here to here, and then probably, yeah, we could go 3/4 of an inch up this way. Maybe even 5/8 would be enough. So we'll create that piece. It's going to be, let's say, I guess we can start with 7 inches long. 7 inches long by 1.75 inches this way and 5/8 up that way with a bend. Then we're going to look to see the shape. We're probably going to use the shrinker stretcher to put a little bit of a curve in that. And then, yeah, we'll place it in here, cut it to fit, and weld her up. Okay, we've got a piece here, 2.5 by 7, a little bigger than we need, but that's fine. And I've got 1.5 inch line marked out here from this edge, which is going to become the flange. So we're going to want to bend it this way. Okay, that should be the type of shape we're looking for. Now we've got some cutting, some bending to do. Let's get busy with that. Okay, we've got our piece here, and this is where it's going to go. You can see it needs quite a bit of shaping before she's going to fit in here. So we need a bend this way. You can see the height here versus here and here. So we've got to get this shape going. And we're going to need a little bit of this shape, just a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll start the bend this way, and we'll use the shrinker for that to bring this metal here closer together and create this bend. Okay, got our piece here. If we shrink this edge, it will create an arc here. So let's get busy with this. There, you can already see the shape it's creating. I'm gonna go check fit that. We'll see how much more we need. Need a little more right here. Okay, I'm gonna check that. Okay, here's our bent piece with the arc. If I put it outside the bend area, you can see now how it's got the perfect radius on that. So we've got our shape this way, and honestly, I don't know that we need a whole bunch this way. I think before I try to put any shape in it this way, I'm going to see if I can get this cut to fit properly, and then we'll take an eye on it there. So get you set up and we'll get this cut in. Okay, I'm going to make a series of cuts here. I've got this pushed back flush to the main brace, and I can see that I've got a cut basically a line like that. That should get us close. That's good. Okay. So now we've got to make a cut here. We're going to try that and see if that's the right edge. Okay, you can see I've got that trim there nice. I'm quite happy with that. So we're going to put some tacks here, a couple tacks here, and then we'll start to hammer this over. And I think we'll be good. Okay, so now we have to trim this off. Okay, got this all ground down. I had to put a little extra material in here because this was a little weak, this bracket. The metal is not awesome in this area right here. But instead of cutting it out, putting a new piece in, I just built it up and ground it down. So I think we're going to be fine there. And I've got this marked out now to where we're going to cut this out, and then we'll create our lip. Let's get that cut out. Okay, got this trimmed up. She's ready to fold over. Notice I put a couple of reliefs in here just because of the band. I think that's going to be easier than what I did on the other side. So let's get this going here. Looks like I'm going to have to add a bit of material right here with weld. I can do that just to get a nicer edge meet up here. First thing we're going to do is check our template and see how close we are. Okay, we've got our template here. Let's line it up and just see how close we are. Okay, we're a little shy from about here down to the bottom. So what we're gonna do is we'll weld it all up. We'll get this smooth. We'll weld this all up on the other side there, just the relief cuts I made. And then we're gonna do a test fit on the fender and determine if we need to build up this edge. And it's fairly simple to do. We can build it up just by tacking a bead on through here and then grinding it. But we'll do that only once it's on the car and we can confirm that we need to. It's probably, if I had to guess, probably a 1/16, maybe a bit more. I don't think it's an 1/8 shy here in this space. So hard to say, but right now I don't want to fine tune until it's on the car. It can be a wasted effort. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut through here so I can get this flush, grind it, weld it, grind it, and then we'll flip it over, and then we'll do our tacks on the other side here to get that straight and welded. And we'll grind this off, and that'll be done. So I'll pick you up once I've cleaned this up, ground it and weld it, and I'll show you the finished product. Well, there we go. That dog leg is repaired, and I'm very happy with how it's come out. I think it looks great. We will do a final check on the gaps once we get it back on the car and check that. If we need to, we can add some material to the edge here and grind that lip down. But you'll see that right now it's got nice profile, nice continuation. Very happy with that. I'll show you the backside and the backside. Again, happy with how that's come out with that lip. And of course the repair here on the brace. That's got the strength and the rust out. And over here, really happy with how this has come out. Saved me several $100s in an AMD dog leg patch. And I think it's just as good. So, right on. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Come back next week, and we're going to keep plugging away at this Fender. Until then, cheers.